Is your portfolio turning away potential clients before they ever even have a chance to reach out? It could be, if you're not doing the 5 things I'm covering in today's video. I'm dishing my top tips on how to level up your portfolio so that you can book those top paying dream clients. Okay, some tough love here. It takes only roughly 1.5 seconds for a potential client to see your work and make a snap decision. That's to see your work and either be curious and impressed enough to want to see more, or to ditch out and say, not for me, and move on to the next photographer on their long list. So let me ask you, how confident are you that what they see in your portfolio, whether that be a website or an Instagram grid, is going to entice them enough to want to see more? How confident are you that the images that you showcase are going to make them have to have you and you alone? Because our work is everything as photographers. It's our first impression, it's our product that we're selling, it's our branding, and most importantly, it's the promise that we're making to our clients. So I challenge you to ask yourself, are you making or breaking your one chance at a great first impression? So what are the symptoms of a pretty but poorly performing portfolio? Do you ever catch yourself saying something like, I'm just not getting the kind of work that I want? My clients want to micromanage the photography like they don't trust me to do my best work. I feel like I have to convince potential clients that I'm worth what I charge. The area I live in is just too saturated and it's hard to stand out. Clients struggle to afford me. I'm afraid if I raise prices, no one will book. I'm not getting enough quality inquiries or bookings in order to thrive. A lot of photographers think that this is just the way it is, but these are actually all signs of what I like to call a misfiring portfolio, one that desperately needs a tune-up and some immediate attention before you lose another client. So how do we fix this? There's 2 ways. One is to improve your existing portfolio with what you have right now, and 2 is to always be improving and growing so that you can bring that into future shoots. For that, I have lots of shooting and editing tutorials on my channel for you to check out, and I also have a full shooting and editing course called Shoot to Edit, which has been called the best natural light photography course, and I highly recommend it if you're a photographer of people. But for now, let's dive into the 5 things you can do today to spruce up the current portfolio you already have. Let's roll up our sleeves, dust it off, spice it up, and make it sparkle again. So step 1 is one of the most important things we can be doing to strengthen our portfolios as photographers. And I believe that this is something that we should be doing at least once or twice a year. And that's to prune our portfolios. And when it comes to pruning or curating down your portfolio of images, our motto here is less is more. And I know you already know this, but I'm gonna say it anyways because it is the most common mistake I see when I do portfolio critiques or take on one-on-one clients and I'm looking at their websites and helping them strengthen them, is people often just have way too many images, and if they were to just prune them down, the portfolio would be so much stronger. And I believe that this is just because we have a strong emotional connection to our own images, and sometimes it's just hard to narrow them down and take them out. But you're gonna do it because it's going to make your portfolio that much better. So there's 2 main areas we wanna look at when it comes to pruning our portfolios. The first is the body of work as a whole. So when I'm talking portfolio, I'm really meaning anything that is representing your photography as a body of work to your potential clients. So this could be an online gallery of your images, this could be on your website, this could even just be your Facebook or Instagram grid where they're coming to it for the first time and seeing a body of your images that represent you and your brand. And when it comes to pruning down a body of work to make it stronger, the main thing that we're going to want to look for is consistency within that work. So by consistency, we're looking for consistency of style, consistency of editing. For instance, you don't want to have light and airy images next to dark and moody images. You want your skin tones to be consistent and different color choices to be consistent across the body of work. And the main reason for this is consistency builds trust with our potential clients by letting them know what to expect from you. If they were to hire you, they know what kind of images you will deliver for them. When you don't have that sort of consistency in your portfolio, what happens is clients are unsure of the quality and the type of images that they will get from you. And usually they'll just move on to the next photographer that will give them that sort of reassurance. And then for the clients that do hire you, that's when you're going to run into problems with micromanaging and people just not trusting your eye. And it might be just a subtle thing that you feel with your clients. And a lot of times that just boils down to not having that consistency in their work where they are really confident of what they're going to get from you. So the second part of the pruning process is to now zoom in and look at the individual images within the body of work. And remember, our motto here is less is more. We don't need a lot of images. In fact, within a gallery, I typically recommend narrowing it down to only to 5 to 10 best images. So we can really narrow it down and not be afraid of cutting out images. So when it comes to this, we're really looking for the strongest images. These are images that take advantage of really beautiful lighting, have great use of backgrounds, compelling compositions, and also make the end viewer feel something. So these are things that I'm looking for when I'm looking at the individual images within the portfolio and judging if they should be there. The other thing to note is that your portfolio is often only as strong as your weakest image. So when looking at the images, remember that you want them all to support each other within the gallery and lift each other up. So you want only your best. Now I know it's often hardest to be your own critic, so I have a few questions for you that you can ask yourself when going through the pruning process. Is this an image that my ideal client would love? Can they picture themselves in it? And is it something that they would want captured for their images? Does it help evoke a feeling? Does it show real, honest joy and love between the subjects and the image? Does it use lighting, background, and composition in a way that supports the subject of the image? Or is it cluttered and distracting? Is it consistent with my brand style? And if this was the first and only image that they saw, would they want to reach out based on that one image? So after we've gone through and pruned down to the strongest images, step 2 is to compose those images or recompose. And this is essentially just going back through and recropping images to make them even stronger. Now, this doesn't have to be done on the full body of images. This is usually just reserved for a few images where the composition might be slightly off. And just by doing a quick tweak or recrop, you can make it even stronger. So this is usually images where when you photographed it, it was a great image, but maybe you were just slightly too tight. For instance, a common one I see is the feet. It's just like right up against the feet, or it's cropping at the ankle, which it's generally a no-no to crop right at the ankle or crop at any limbs because it looks unintentional. So the key here is to always have any sort of cropping or framing in the image look very intentional. So that means like not cropping at any joints or any areas that might be unflattering to the subject or draw your eye away from their face. So instead, if you had an image where it, say, was cropped at the ankle or was resting right up against their feet, it would be better to readjust the crop to crop a little bit higher to bring all the attention in and make it a more pleasing image compositionally. Some other things that we'll want to look at as well are things like horizon lines that are crooked. That can be a quick adjustment. Headspace in the image, which could be too much headspace above your subject that draws the eyes upward away from them, or on the flip side, too little headspace and having the edges of the frame riding right up against your subject in a way that feels a little bit uncomfortable. So those are all things that we can look for, and a lot of times it's just a quick adjustment to save the image and make it even stronger. So number 3 is to edit or re-edit your images. And similar to cropping, if you have images in your portfolio that you really love, but say it's an older image and it's not up to date with your current editing style, you can bring those back into Lightroom and re-edit the images to update them and have them feel more cohesive and consistent with your full body of work. And there's really 2 areas that I'm looking for as far as consistency goes. The first is color consistency, making sure the overall color, styling, editing style is cohesive across your work. And a primary area to look at for this is skin tones. Like, Are your skin tones on the warmer side? Are they on the cooler side? Do they tend to edge towards magenta, or are they more towards the green tones? By selecting a consistent skin tone and lining that up across all of your images, it will make your work so much stronger. And then the other area to look is for any distractions in your image. And this is essentially anything that could be pulling the viewer's eye away from the subject of the photo. Oftentimes, this shows up in images as dark spots in the background or bright spots or objects that can be cropped or cloned out of the images to really make that image strong and bring the eyes right to the subject of the photo. Number 4 is to specialize. And there's really 2 parts of this. First, you need to show what you want to shoot. I know you've heard this before. I know if you've followed me for a while, you've heard it from me, but it's important to say again because it's one of the common things that I see when I'm doing portfolio critiques and looking at people's websites is they're showing everything. And then when I ask them, what do you want to be known for? What kind of work do you want to be booking? There's usually a specific genre or 2 that you're aiming for. But if you're showing pets and senior photography and babies and families and weddings all together, when people come to your page, they're not going to know what you specialize in because you just kind of do it all. And as far as booking premium clients and being able to charge more for your work, you'll always be able to charge more as a specialist. This is why when I first started my wedding photography business, I actually did children's photography, babies, families, and weddings, but I actually had 2 different websites because I wanted to create a premium brand for my wedding photography. And I knew that having that be fully dedicated to those clients and making them feel really special was key to doing that. So ask yourself, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to book more of? Or start booking. These are key questions to figuring out how to curate a portfolio that paints you as a specialist in that area. And finally, number 5 is to mix it up. So what do I mean by that? We talked a bit about how consistency is really important in your work. And with consistency, I'm specifically talking in the stylization of your images, the overall style, vibe, and color of your work. But it's also really important to have dynamicism, versatility, and excitement when potential clients are looking through our feeds. And this tends to happen more in switching up the framing, the shot design, and the composition of our images. For example, if you're looking through your portfolio and you're noticing almost all of the images are zoomed in and cropped really tight, or maybe all of them are really center weighted and you don't have any dynamic compositions, it might feel like all of the images are looking the same and the people are just interchangeable. And the problem with this is when potential clients are thinking about hiring you, and especially premium clients that are going to pay more for your work, they're wanting something unique and special specifically for them. And they want to see that a photographer has range and versatility in their work so that they're not just a one-trick pony, they're not just rinsing and repeating and going to have the same exact images as everybody else. So if you're running into this problem in your own portfolio, it's actually a super easy fix. There's actually 2 ways. The first is to just narrow down more. If you have a lot of images that look really similar, it might be hard because they're all your favorites, but try to pick the best 1 or 2 out of those images. And the second part is to switch up the ordering of the images so that they're not living right next to each other. So in a gallery, you want them spaced out a bit, or on an Instagram grid, I try not to have 2 similar images touching each other and space them out in the feed so that there's a nice flow. This will make your work look a lot more dynamic and more exciting as a potential client is looking through your portfolio. So we covered a lot in this. We talked about pruning, recomposing, re-editing, specializing, and how to mix it up. But I do have one last bonus tip that I wanted to leave you with, and that's to look for gaps in your portfolio. Go back through it with fresh eyes. And one thing I personally find really helps for this is to close your eyes and visualize that dream client going through your portfolio for the very first time. How do they feel? How do you want them to feel? Is there anybody that's there with them while they're looking through it? Are they looking through it together? Are they texting a friend and saying, hey, check this out? Or do they excitedly try to find the contact page so they can reach out? This may sound super silly, but I promise you, the clearer you can visualize the client, it really helps you tap into their emotions and their thoughts as they're seeing your work for the very first time. And by putting yourself in your potential client's shoes, it really helps you see the gaps in your own work so that you can fill them in. Is there anything missing that you know your potential client would absolutely love to see more of? What are areas that could use some improvement? For instance, maybe you notice that a lot of your images are center weighted and you want to learn how to create more compelling compositions to create more dynamicism in your work. Or you notice that you do a great job at bringing out the joy and emotion in your subjects, but your use of backgrounds tend to distract away from them in the images. Or your editing could use some improvement to have more color consistency and better skin tones. This is really going to be different for everyone, but doing these periodic self-critiques of our own work will keep us in that growth mindset so that our work never becomes stale and we're constantly growing, improving, and pushing to our own next level. So you already know that if you want to up-level your new work, you're gonna need to push things above and beyond what you've already been doing. I'll be creating lots more free videos on improving your work this year. Subscribe so you don't miss them. But I also invite you to join me inside my new photography program called Shoot to Edit. It's a complete A to Z step-by-step system for creating feature-worthy work. From what to think about before you ever click that shutter button to finding the best light, even at the worst times of day, all the way through to the final edit for creating consistency, beautiful skin tones, and how to really define your own unique style. I only open doors a couple times a year, and doors are open right now. But not for long. So definitely click the link below for more details, shoottoedit.chelseanicole.com, and I will catch you in the next video. So what are the symptoms of a pretty but poorly performing portfolio? And pretty poorly performing portfolio. Can you say it? Do it. Pretty poorly performing portfolio. Yeah.